Bowling with the Fef.
I encourage you to get fat.
Your bowling stories.
All things the game of bowling.
Every week.
Helping bowlers.
The hand collapses down.
Live.
And I'm going to try to bowl the best I can.
2,000 subscribers. 2,000 subscribers.
I want to challenge Chad Nelson.
Tom Corbett.
Jason Belmonte.
Let's do this. This is Bowling with the Fef.
Well, good Thursday evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel, spicing up the intro a little bit with some voiceover work that I had done since last time I rapped at you. Hope you enjoyed that. We've got some other little fun little tweaks through the show that we'll kind of hit you with from time to time. So I hope you enjoy, I guess you could say, the new look of this, although the meat of the matter is the same. We're sharing bowling stories, and we've got a great one tonight. Before I get to that, I do want to mention that the USBC has announced they're going to be judging Hall of Fame credentials a little bit differently moving forward. This all starts for the 2025 class. Now, on Tuesday, USBC announced that it will induct people into the Superior Performance, Outstanding USBC Performance, and Meritorious Service categories, and that's it. The Veterans and Pioneer categories are now inactive. There is also no longer a nomination process for Superior Performance and Outstanding USBC Performance categories, and a national ballot for voting in Superior Performance category is also nixed. They also changed the minimum age for all three categories to 45, up from 40. Those are a few of the high-level details on this. You can read more at bowl.com, and I'm going to try and put that link in the chat here in the comments so you can see what I'm talking about. Of course, I would encourage you to check this out after the show is over, because there's so much great stuff to hear about here. But the 2025 USBC Hall of Fame induction ceremony is during the convention of that same year at South Point in Vegas, and that happens May 5th through the 8th. Well, I hope you had a chance to take a look at the newest video on our channel. It's called Wisconsin's First USBC Certified String Pin Machines in Play at Waukesha's Foxview Lanes. I had a chance to run down to Waukesha and actually bowl on certified string pins for the first time. It was a great time. Certainly great insight, not only from just bowling there, but also from following along with a group from Illinois that also went down to try them for the first time. A big thank you to Stefan and Cassie Hainan, the owners of Foxview, for allowing us to record that video there, and to Jerry Mars and his buddies for participating. And again, it's on the channel now. I hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment in that story about string pins or anything else you wish. I do see them all, and I will try and get back to you just as soon as possible with something on that. And speak of the devil, Brian Ducey, who was one of the folks over there at Foxview. It's good to see you, bud. Good to see you too. He is a part of the Dog Tags Bowling channel, which is very interesting. He told me a little bit about that, and I'm looking forward to digging into some of their content too, because you never can get enough bowling content, can you? At least if you're me, I can't get enough. So exciting to meet a fellow content creator and see what he has in store over there. He's got some great tournaments coming up as well. Hey, we do have a merch store up and running right now, etsy.com/shop/bowlingwiththefefco. You can find t-shirts and hoodies there, and all that does support the channel. I've tried to get some some money back into the production quality of this thing, and that's part of the way I do it. So I appreciate everybody who's expressed interest and made orders in there. Yeah, Brian was there and bowling a lot better than I was. And BSJ83, string pins are bowling's mark of the beast. Well, I mean, everybody has their own opinion. I guess my follow-up question would be, have you bowled on certified string pins before? If so, there you go. And if not, I would encourage you to at least try. There aren't a ton of centers out there with string pin machines just yet. But I'm guessing, and I don't have a crystal ball, can't tell you how fast that's going to start popping up at centers around the country, but we'll see about that. You'll certainly see more as we go here. Nico in the house saying hi. Hello to you, Nico. Glad to see you here live. And Brian repping dog tags bowling. So yeah, if you guys are live like Brian and Nico and you want to utilize that live chat, please do. Fire some questions our way, make some comments. It's an interactive thing when we're live like this. And again, if you're on replay, feel free to leave a comment. I do see them all, and I appreciate the participation. And now a word from our sponsor.
Raise your snack standards. Chip Magnet Salsa.
Oh, baby, it's always a great time to raise your snack standards with Chip Magnet, the #1 salsa producing company in America, really. I'm going to say, or on Earth. You could go either way with that. They are based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They distribute to grocery stores in more than 38 states and Canada. And if you go online, chipmagnetsalsa.com, you enter the promo code BWTF2024 at checkout. You get 25% off your purchase of $30 or more. No limit on that bad boy. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. And a big thank you to Chip Magnet for supporting Bowling with the FEF. Well, our guest tonight is literally one of the best in the world. She has 3 titles on tour, including the 2018 U.S. Women's Open. She has an 890 series to her credit, which is tops for female bowlers all time. And she'll be competing in the Lucy Doubles coming up later this month, starting on the 27th at 2 p.m. local time, with a longtime partner, Richie Teese, who you may be familiar with since he is a touring pro and a PBA champion. Liz Kuhlkin is always in this for the crown, and she is well known in bowling circles as the Queen Bee. So, Your Highness, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Tell us about that nickname, Queen Bee. Where does it come from? How'd you get it? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So when I signed with Brunswick in 2018, I needed something for me, like a motto, I've had a lot of nicknames in my day, but I really didn't have that brand for my career. You know what I mean? And at that point, I bowled 890. I was gaining some traction. I needed something for my fan base to kind of represent myself. So initially, growing up, my mom used to always call me Queenie. And I was kind of like, I've always been known as like a queen to the family because I was the younger sister. So I kind of went with the Queen, and then I was Queen Brunswick for a little bit, and I was hashtagging Queen Brunswick. And one of my friends, actually, my doubles partner, Jessica Ice, her husband was like, "That's a little long. How does Queen Bee sound?" And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to roll with it. And then it kind of stemmed from that. We did the Queen Bee, and then I brought the bee into it, the actual insect, like doing the bee with it. Even though if I see a bee in real life, I'm, not too fond of them. But that's kind of where it came from, and it just stuck. And it really was, I feel like it's what I needed for my career to kind of help grow my fan base. And when I see people on tour, people that come and watch the PWBA, come and watch me, it's Queen Bee. It's not Liz Kuhlkin, it's Queen Bee. And I'm cool with that. I am. I really do like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it has, it gives you a lot of, credence and importance there, without even throwing a ball. So, if branding does that, I think that's fantastic. And you've
Absolutely.
got a great one there. Brian says a lot of people are bashing strings, but have never bowled on them. My recommendation, go bowl on Foxview's lanes and give them a try. They are hosting a PBA regional. If strings were bad, why would the best bowlers in the world switch his lanes to strings? I'm guessing he is referring to EJ Tackett, who's also dabbling into the string pins. Have you had the opportunity to throw on certified string pins?
So I was waiting for you to ask me this question. So I went to the University of Nebraska for 4 years, and our home facility on our campus was string pins.
So
I have a lot of experience bowling on string pins. Obviously the idea of having that on campus was obviously to save maintenance. So we didn't have to have somebody maintain the lanes. I mean, the girls there knew how to shut off the lanes and untangle the pins. You know what I mean? So you kind of take that lane maintenance right out of it. My personal opinion on string pin, obviously there's some things that happen with string pins that don't happen without string pins. Not as many messengers. You're picking up maybe like a 310 a little bit more than you would, usually, things like that. But as a whole, I think it's something the bowling community just kind of has to adjust to, just like everything else has in this sport, right? Two-handed bowling, etc. So I think it could be a really good thing. I think it's just so fresh right now to people that, that change is scary. You know what I mean? But I do have a lot of experience bowling on string pins. So I was kind of waiting, watching the intro. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, that's great. And it's like a lot of the advances in the game that, that you've seen, that I've seen over the years. I can remember, buying my first reactive bowling ball and being told, oh, that's a cheater ball. Well, sorry, but that's the way the game is going and still goes to this day. And, synthetic lanes and other things. I mean, we're going to see changes and, everybody's got an opinion, but I think there's value in the thought that people should at least give them a try. And, if they like them, great. If they don't like them, great. It's America. You're free to have your opinion, but, make it an informed opinion. I think that's all.
It's kind of like when somebody says they don't like a certain food and they've never tried it before. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think you have to give them a fair shot, bowl on them. And like you said, you have every right to have your opinion. But I feel like if you haven't bowled on them before, I don't really think you have that right just yet to make a comment on it. But I would encourage every bowler at any level to give it a try because it is definitely, something different.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Billy Fields says, "Nice hearing from you." Is that someone you know, or just a fan of the Queendom?
I'm not sure who Billy is, but I appreciate it. I appreciate him chiming in.
Yeah. Brian says, "Go Big Red." I'm sure you love to hear
Go
that.
Big Red.
Mark London wants to know, remember the roar about synthetics almost 50 years ago? I remember about maybe, 40 years ago. Wow, I'm getting old. Yeah, I bowled on a synthetic house in the late 80s, and it was one of the only ones in town, and there were a lot of people who didn't like it. But now, look around. It's tough to find a wood lane house in a lot of communities. So, yeah, things go. They come and go. Here's Brent Prentice, the Cedarvale guy. When Queenie walks into Cedarvale, everyone loves her, including me. She's so great for our sport and the PWBA. We need more Queenie. Hello, Andy. He's one of the only ones who still calls me Andy, but that's okay.
I love it. Yeah, Cedarvale is like near and dear to my heart. Brent Prentice does an amazing job there. Okay. He absolutely loves the PWBA, and he honestly treats us like royalty when we go there. I'm not the only queen when I walk into that building when you're with the PWBA, but on Brent's standards, he's just amazing. I love bowling there. And honestly, I bowl really good there. I've made 2 shows. So I can't really complain about how I performed there either, but I really appreciate it. I'm glad that everyone loves me at Cedarvale just as much as I love Cedarvale. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And in talking with Brent, and we were former high school teammates back long ago. So we do talk quite a bit about that, about the Twin Cities Open. And I know it's just totally in his heart. I mean, he cares so much about, you ladies on the tour and having that tour stop there, whether it's the regional version or the national tour version.
Right.
And it shows, I think, when you have a proprietor that, that invests that much of himself into it, it shows out there.
Absolutely. Very much so.
Yeah. Oh, Billy says you live in his area. So
got you. I'm a fellow upstate New Yorker. Love it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I had mentioned that the Lucy doubles is coming up in a couple of weeks here down in Texas. And I really like the story that I found out in my research about how you and Richie became partners with the Lucy. I reached out to him and he said me and Liz became doubles partners out of luck, really. He says after he won his PBA title in 17, he wanted to bowl the Lucy the year after. He says he put out a post on social media looking for a partner and that you were the first woman to respond. And here we are 6 years later. That's so cool. Tell me about that from your perspective. I mean, what prompted you to respond to his post?
Yeah, so I kind of knew Richie almost like at a distance just by social media. I had seen Richie bowl on TV a little bit. I had known he was from England. We had just missed each other in like the junior side of things with the world championships and everything. He's just a little bit older than me, but I've always really liked Richie's personality when he's bowling. He's called Biscuit. I always thought that was really cute too. And honestly, I had left my current Lucy partner at the time, and I was also looking for a Lucy partner. And something I truly believe about the Lucy is it's honestly not always about finding the two best bowlers. And what I mean by that is obviously past champions, you have incredible bowlers like Danny McEwen, Anthony Simonson, EJ Tackett, Jason Belmonte, Deandra Asbeatty. You have great bowlers, but it's really about your camaraderie together and how you feed off of each other. And I really liked Richie as a person. And I also feel like Richie and I have similar games where we can really feed off of each other. So when I saw that post, I was all over it. Cause like I said, he needed a partner. I needed a partner. And I just really felt like we could bowl really well together and feed off one another's energy. And honestly, I think ever since we bowled together, we've made the cut every year. So, and a couple of the years we've made, I think 1 or 2 of the years we made the top 12 or top 8. So we've had a lot of success. So it's hard to argue with that. And like I said, I really appreciate Richie as a person as well. So I'm very grateful for what we've had the last 6 years and look forward to more.
Yeah. He also said that one thing he likes about your game is your will and determination to fight for every pin in every frame. And furthermore, your versatility across the lane is a huge strength when it comes to the women's side of bowling. From playing up 5 to hooking the whole lane, Liz can do it. Team USA and Women's US Open champion for a reason. When you talk about the chemistry part and not just having two, really good bowlers bowling at the same time, what does that look like from your perspective when you're in the heat of battle, when maybe one of you is struggling to figure out the right ball roll or whatever it may be, lane to lane, pair to pair? What's that like for you to have that chemistry, and how does that work to your advantage in those situations?
Yeah, so I mean, it's one thing to be bowling as an individual and affecting your own score. It's another to be bowling as a doubles team, as any team event you're bowling and you're affecting somebody else's score. It kind of it elevates things to a whole nother level, right? Because now you're affecting somebody else. So when you're bowling the Lucy, you're bowling on a hard pattern, and especially for the women. Quite frankly, we're just not used to bowling with the rev rate that the men have. And the lanes break down so different. So you really have to have a partner that is supportive, that is behind you watching every shot, somebody that you can talk to about the shot you just made. And that's Richie, you know what I mean? Richie just is a very supportive, not only partner, but a friend. And I think that's what makes us work so well is he is very smart, but has a really high bowling IQ. But he's also that guy that I can come back to and talk about the shot that just happened. Even if it's a bad shot, come back, that was crap. And he can laugh about it with you know what I mean? And I feel like that's why Richie and I work. Not only is a really talented bowler and a really smart bowler as well, but he's also that supportive friend in the back that you can come and talk to and figure things out with. And I think that really is why we've had so much success over the years bowling together. And I think there's something to be said about that with the Lucy. And I feel like you'll see that. You'll kind of see these recycled partners over the years, and you can just tell, hey, that didn't work out between the two of those people. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean either of them are bad people. It just means that they didn't work out together, and they could be two really good bowlers, and it just won't work out. So I think Richie and I have just found that together. And I mean, I remember one year in particular, unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the Lucy at the last minute. I want to say it was 2 years ago. So 2022, I had a procedure done that unfortunately I got an infection from, and I couldn't go. And it was an awful feeling because I just felt like I was letting him down. And I was keeping up to date with him. I was texting him, letting him know, because I basically was waiting for confirmation from my doctors to let me fly, because that was the biggest thing, was flying on an airplane there. And if something were to happen, and unfortunately it came down to, I wasn't able to go. And Richie was just so supportive. I hope you get better, let me know if you need anything. And I think there's really something to be said about that, because he had already gone there, spent the money to fly there. And it was a really hard thing to miss the tournament and affect him like that. But it just showed his character, how supportive he was, and goes, I kind of messaged him later and I said, are you still going to want to bowl with me next year? And he goes, why are you even asking me that? So that just, this show goes to show you how good of a guy Richie is. And I'm really glad, like you said, fate just kind of happened where we became partners. So,
yeah. That's so cool to see the depth of the relationship that you two have formed, really from just, bowling together in a tournament once a year. That's really cool. And I feel like not a lot of people, get to hear about that side of things when it comes to the Lucy like that.
Absolutely.
Brian says, without the proprietors, none of us would have the opportunity to enjoy the sport we love. Absolutely correct there. He says he has a great story about Richie. He says he's awesome. So there's another Richie fan there. Charlene LeBrake says, hi, Liz. I wanted to say hey and keep being the great person and role model that you are. Queen Bee hashtag.
Yes, I do know Charlene. Charlene is a very good friend of mine. So is her boyfriend, Ron. They're incredible supporters of mine, really have come watch me bowl in a couple tournaments, and I really appreciate their support and glad she logged on.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Brian says the Lucy is a great event. Love the response it gets, and it sells out so quickly. Keep it going. I would add to that, put it on TV. We want to see that on TV. Maybe someday, Absolutely.
I would agree with that. I'm surprised it hasn't already caught prime time at this point, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, one of these years. Let's kind of get into your story, like from the start. I know you've been bowling for years and years. I believe you first started maybe at 6 or so. Tell us about how you first got into it, what the circumstances were.
Yeah, so my dad's a bowler. My dad, very good competitive bowler. And, it kind of stemmed from him, just going and watching him bowl. And my parents put me in a junior bantam program, they called it. And I just bowled from very young, all the way up into my, teenage years. I was a multi-sport athlete, so I played a lot of other sports too. I played softball, I played basketball. So I had a lot of other things going on, but I would say I really started taking bowling like super seriously when I was probably 15 or 16 years old. And that was mostly because, junior gold really started to like elevate around that time. And I wanted to go and compete out there. And I also realized that I could get a D1 scholarship as an NCAA bowler with bowling. And I was a really good softball player and basketball player, but not D1 level.
Okay.
So I essentially had to make a decision about basketball and bowling because they were same season, excuse me.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out if I wanted to play basketball for my high school or if I wanted to bowl. And I did try to do both, but they wouldn't let me. So I had to make a decision. And it was a tough one because I had done all the basketball camps, summer basketball, whatever with my school district, and I was a good player, so it was hard to pull out of that, but it was obvious to me that I was a better bowler and I had more opportunity in bowling.
Yeah.
My uncle was also involved with recruitment for football for a school in Western New York, so he knew about recruitment with sending video, and he actually was the one who helped me reach out to collegiate coaching about me going to schools to bowl. So at that point in time, that's when I started bowling the junior gold, and I started practicing more and bowled for my high school and started to see more and more success. So really started at a young age, but I would say I really didn't start taking bowling as my sole priority until I was 16, 17 years old. I still played softball as well because it was in the spring, so it didn't conflict as much as basketball did. But obviously, as I started to see more success bowling, I wanted to keep bowling more and more and more. And then I sent out the recruitment videos, and that's when I started getting interest from other colleges. So that's when the real fun started.
Yeah. You mentioned, having the opportunity to bowl for your high school, and different states do that in different ways. Around here, there's a lot of Baker system games. Is that the way it was for you out there?
Yeah, so we had Baker system, and we had some individual games too that we used. My high school bowling career, I didn't have as much opportunity as I quite wanted in my high school bowling career, and what I mean by that is the coaching. We had a coach that kind of just collected a check type deal, didn't provide a lot of knowledge to any of us. It was my mom and dad for that. But it did at least give me a platform to bowl on. And New York State has different sections, and I was a part of Section 2, and I was able to go to states 3 years out of my 4 in high school as an individual. And my high school team was very good. We went undefeated for 3 years. So I was also around a lot of good high school bowlers as well. So I at least was grateful for that platform to showcase myself for colleges. So that was good. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Charlene says there is no way she would have missed watching this. I appreciate that, and I'm sure you do too.
I do. Absolutely.
BSJ83 says, is Liz participating in the trios event after the Lucy, the Jonesboro?
So I'm still kind of on the fence about it. I'm going to be honest. The Lucy is right before it, and then it would be immediately after Lucy, and then immediately after the trios event, I would have to go to Detroit. That's a lot of time on the road. I'm going to be honest. I'm sure we can talk about this a little bit later, but I do have a full-time job at home as well that I have to try to juggle like a lot of the ladies out there. Both the Lucy and the trios event do not count towards our PWBA points for obvious reasons, because you have other people influencing your score. So
sure.
As much as the event sounds amazing, and I think it's really great for the sport of bowling that we start combining the PBA, the PWBA, and the PBA 50. I have to kind of weigh some pros and cons still about if I'm going to go. I'm going to be honest, I really thought this event may be on TV. I don't think it is. I think it's on Bowl TV.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And that was, I'm going to be honest with you, that was a little surprising to me, especially considering the field it's going to showcase. So I guess I can't fully answer that question yet, but I'm going to be honest, I'm more on the fence of leaning. I may not go. And a lot of that has to do with getting the proper rest before I go to the tour championships, because I really want to perform well there. And also the time with work. So sure. I can't give a full answer right now. Sorry. BSJ83, but I think I provided a lot of insight at least. But I do appreciate that we are starting to see more events like this, because I do think we should, because bowling has a broad range of fans, and I know for sure they want to see more of the PWBA with the PBA stuff. So I'm hoping that creates a partnership that can continue to grow for sure.
Yeah. Makes total sense, though. I mean, the other factors that you consider, especially with the timing there.
It's a lot.
Totally.
It would be a lot of time on the road.
Yeah, for sure. Mark says Lucy is such a great tourney, either bowling, broadcasting, and or reporting on it. I believe he's done a little of all of those, so he would know. Derek says, hey, what's up, everybody? Liz, why don't you come on my podcast sometime? He does one called Flush in the Pocket. Hopefully you're doing well, both of you. Thank you, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
I'll leave that up to you guys. You can, I can pass along your info if you want, and you can work with you on that offline. So you mentioned that your uncle had, some expertise in the recruiting process. Tell us about how that ended up going and why you ended up at Nebraska. I mean, other than the fact that it's one of the greatest, women's programs ever.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful for the expertise that my uncle provided, because to be honest, if it was just me and my parents, we wouldn't have really known, honestly. I think we were a little naive on how to really approach it. I mean, do I just write a letter to these colleges saying, hi, I'm Liz Kuhlkin. I have a high average in high school, and can I go to your school? You know what I mean? It just, It can be very intimidating if you've never done it before. I think now, 2024, there's more resources for people to kind of know how to do things. But, I was in high school, 2010 at the time. Collegiate bowling was really starting to be on the rise then. And I just am very grateful that my uncle kind of said, okay, listen, you got to find somebody with a camcorder and a stand, and you just have to video yourself bowling, do a little bit of a portfolio before you start bowling, say who you are, say what you'd like to major in. So I was really grateful for his guidance. I think my parents were too, because we needed it. So we put some videos together of me bowling, from the side, from the front. Once you email the college as well, they kind of told you what they wanted to see too. So Coach Klempa and Coach Straub were pretty, clear on what they wanted to see from the side, from the front, from the back, just so they can kind of see your fundamentals. I got a fair amount of response back, which was exciting. There was, I had gone to only 2 collegiate visits. So my first collegiate visit was at Delphi University in Long Island, Garden City, and Division II school. Absolutely beautiful campus, like breathtaking campus. It was kind of funny. I'm pretty sure my parents are watching and they'll get a crack up from revisiting this story. But when we went to go down there, my dad, we had the Garmin GPS and everything. And we were lost, to be honest. We were lost trying to get there. And we had to go over the George Washington Bridge like 4 times, to the point where we were running low on cash. And I just remember we were panicking because the GPS kept looping us over this George Washington Bridge. And it was just, we can laugh about it now, but at the time, when you're in your car with your parents and they're flustered and you're in the back seat, and we can laugh about it now. But long story short, I had a really great visit there. The girls there were great. So I had gone to Adelphi, and then very shortly after, I had the visit to Nebraska. And it was my first time on a plane, and also my father's first time on a plane, which was, we went on a puddle jumper, so I call it very small plane, to fly into Lincoln, Nebraska, which is as your first experience flying, you don't really want to be on a puddle jumper plane. A 787 would have been just fine. But, we had the whole experience at Nebraska. They put us up in an embassy suites. We had the, huge breakfast. We went to visit the campus. We went to visit the athletic facility, the dining hall they had for athletes. We went to a football game, which obviously was my dad and I are huge sports fans. And, we were just shell shocked at the experience in Lincoln on game day, because, there's no professional sports in Nebraska. So it is all about the Huskers in Lincoln. the city shuts down for game day. Okay. And we were just totally shocked by the whole experience. And, at that point in time, I'm 17 years old, and I had never been really too much out of state. And I was just kind of shell shocked by the whole thing. And I had just known, being at that football game and seeing the facilities they had to offer, I was going to that school, and it was a little terrifying at the time because, listen, I'm from small town upstate New York, and I'm halfway across the country. It was very intimidating to think about, but, after talking with Coach Straub and Coach Klempa, it just felt right. And it's where I wanted to go to as well to increase my bowling game, get better. Adelphi would have been more so big fish, small pond. Nebraska was small fish, big pond. And I was willing to take that risk to get better, Yeah. So that was it. Signed my NLI in December. I think I had gone on my trip in October, I want to say, or late September. And I had signed my NLI with them in December. It was pretty quick. I was in conversation with, Maryland Eastern Shore, Vanderbilt. But I honestly didn't have much interest in going on any other visits. I was pretty blown away by the Nebraska experience. You go in their facility, they have national championship trophies all along the walls. They have their player of the years on the wall. At that point I had idolized Shannon Plahowski, and, she was all over the walls there. And I just remember I just wanted to be her. I wanted to be that anchor at Nebraska like she was. And it was a pretty easy decision after going there and visiting. So I'm very grateful for my experience at Nebraska for sure.
Sure. When you know. But BSJ83 wants to know, does it get colder in Nebraska or New York during the winter?
Yeah, so I feel like it's two different types of winters between Nebraska and New York. So Nebraska is very flat. Obviously, it's in, that part of the country where it's just very flat, and the wind just will absolutely break you in the Midwest. I remember walking to class in, we were lucky the athletic department provided us with these big parka coats, but it was just so cold. The wind would pierce through you. And my parents and I joke about it till this day. I would call them on the phone walking the class, and my mom would just be like, I cannot hear you. It's just piercing wind in the phone. New York is a little bit different because yes, it is cold, but it snows a lot more in New York than it did in Nebraska. Yeah. Because I live in a part of New York State where, you get the snow from the northwest off the lakes, and then you also get the nor'easters up the coast. So we get a lot more snow here than I ever did in Nebraska, but the wind chill in Nebraska, I would say, is a little bit more brutal than New York.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we get some of that wind chill here too. It's not fun.
It's different. It's different in the Midwest than it is in the Northeast. It just is.
Yeah. For sure. Brian says everyone wishes they could be a pro bowler until they see how much travel, expense, time away from home, family, and job it takes. We greatly respect what you do. And he makes a great point. We see the glamour and the glitz. Oh, they're on TV. They're winning, tens of thousands of dollars if they win a tournament. But when it gets down to it, boy, there's a lot more to it than just, throwing the ball down the lane.
Yeah, there is. I appreciate that, Brian. I obviously am very grateful that I get to be a professional in the sport I love, and that I have a platform to do that on the PWBA Tour. And quite frankly, I'm one of the people that got very lucky with the timing of the rebirth of the PWBA in 2015. I literally graduated college and was able to go on the PWBA Tour. But it is a lot, especially for a lot of the ladies that you'll talk to on the PWBA. We do juggle a whole other career most of the time with also trying to be a professional bowler, and that's tough. The travel is tough. I don't think anybody can say as time has gone on that traveling has gotten easier. Right. And in fact, I think since COVID, it's gotten harder, more expensive. You're traveling with bowling balls. You're going through different time zones. And I know for me, I live in New York State, which is in the Northeast, which is not centralized to anything.
Yeah.
So you pretty much have to fly anywhere, everywhere. So, you know, it is a lot of time on the road. It's long days. It's short nights. So, you know, there is a lot to be said about the ins and outs of traveling than just, you know, being on the approach and throwing the bowling ball. So I definitely appreciate that comment, because I feel like not everybody completely knows all that goes into the PBA, PWBA, PBA 50 travels of actually being able to compete.
Yeah. No, I echo that sentiment, because yeah, it's, you know, hearing these stories, you really get a sense for what a grind it truly is, and that makes, you know, people like me and Brian appreciate what you folks do even more. You mentioned the coaching, not quite what you were looking for in high school. Then you get to Nebraska and you have Straub. We
Yeah.
see him on TV. He seems to be a very tall gentleman. Doesn't seem to smile a whole lot. Maybe that's just, you know, from an outsider's perspective. What's he like, and what was he like in molding you into the Liz Kuhlkin that we got to see after college?
Yeah, so, you know, Coach Straub is unapologetically himself. You know what I mean? I remember when I went on the trip to Nebraska for my visit, I joke. We were just talking about this the other day with my dad, how when he went with me, Coach Straub would speak and say something to me, and I would immediately look at my dad for him to translate, because I didn't know what he said. And it's not because he's hard to understand. He has these Straubisms, I call that he had different ways of explaining things that, truthfully, as a 17-year-old person, I didn't understand. So I would constantly look at my dad to answer for me, because I didn't know what he was saying. But Coach Straub is so smart. He's such an intelligent person. And I'm not just saying on a bowling level. Obviously, that's easy to say with all the All-Americans he's produced and the national championships, kind of speaks for itself. But he's just an intelligent person in general. And, you know, my first couple months at Nebraska, I always say that I think it helped a little bit for me not to. I mean, I had obviously had success in high school, but I hadn't won junior gold. I hadn't won teen masters. I don't think I'd even sniffed a cut at junior gold when I went to Nebraska. I was talented, but I needed work. You know what I mean? So when I went there, I completely bought into the program. And what I mean by that is I was ready to do whatever Coach Straub and Coach Klempa wanted me to do to be better. And I think that paid dividends for me, because I literally bought into the Nebraska program, because I'm just to be honest, the Nebraska program was not for everybody. And I think you knew pretty early on if it was going to be for you or not. And for me, it did. I bought into it. And honestly, my first year, when I went home for Christmas, I had already had so many changes in my game that I started to see progress immediately, even my first year. And I was a starter my first year of college. And, you know, by the summer of my freshman year, I'd even progressed even more. And then I went to junior gold and I made the cut for the first time. It was just constant progression. And that's really, for a bowler, it's really important to see that type of progression. And for me, I had just bought into the program so much at that point that I was becoming a better bowler quickly. And I was seeing success quickly. And I think for any athlete, seeing that type of progression is really important to the end goal. So my time at Nebraska, I am the bowler I am because of the University of Nebraska. I just am. I may not bowl exactly. I don't bowl how I did in college. And that's not anything I did when I left Nebraska. I said, I'm going to get rid of this push away, and I'm not going to do anything. You know, that wasn't the case. I think my game has kind of progressed just by, you know, bowling on different patterns and seeing different ways where I needed to be better in different areas. But I think the progression at Nebraska and how quickly it happened, it wasn't by accident. It was because of how great the coaching is there.
Sure. And the results bear that out. a pair of NCAA championships. You became, and I'm, pardon my ignorance, an athletics Hall of Famer for all sports at Nebraska. And in listening to, some of the past stuff you've done, I heard you on another show tell the story about how Coach Klemka said, you may want to write out an acceptance speech, just in case, because
he knew.
You never know.
Yeah.
Did he know?
Yeah, I think he did, because we were on the bus coming back from winning national title in Cleveland, and we didn't take a bus very much, but it wasn't Cleveland. I lied. It was St. Louis. I apologize. Yeah. We didn't take a bus very often, but St. Louis was close. So we were on the bus, and we were, on cloud nine. We had just won a national championship.
Yeah.
And I remember Coach Klempa was sitting behind me, and I'm like, I just want to go to bed. But, when you lay across the seats or whatever and you take a little nap, all the girls were doing that. I'm like, I just kind of want to rest. And Coach Klempa's like, well, have you done like a just in case speech, for the banquet tonight? And I'm like, no, there's a gymnast, there's a volleyball player, there's a soccer player. A bowler's not going to win that award, Coach. I just, you know what I mean? And I was just very, at this point in time, I kind of sound shallow putting down bowling, which is not, I wasn't trying to do that, but I just, volleyball was such a big sport in Nebraska as well, and gymnastics. I'm just like, I just don't think that there's not enough light that is shed on bowling, I think, at Nebraska for me to outweigh a volleyball player. And Coach Club was like, maybe, just in case, you don't want to not have something. And so I did indeed write something up, and thankfully I'm thankful I did.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And, you mentioned, the immediacy of the tour returning upon when you graduated. One of the things that I was curious about was how the timing worked out as far as the coaching transition when Coach Straub stepped aside and Coach Klempa became the head guy. Did that happen while you were competing for Nebraska?
No, it did not. So Coach Straub was still the head coach when I had graduated. I can't quite remember. I want to say it was 3 or 4 years after I graduated. Coach Straub stepped aside. And I think, honestly, he would have stepped aside, but his daughter, Megan, who was a very good volleyball player herself, unfortunately had an injury and had decided that she was going to pick up bowling, and she actually went to the school. So then Megan was bowling at the school, and I think Coach Straub was like, okay, wait a second, got to reassess. I honestly thought he was going to leave when I graduated, not because of me, but because we had a fantastic year that year. We had led the division the entire year. We won a national championship. We had 2 or 3 or 4 All-American. It was like a perfect year to ride into the sunset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Coach Straub and Coach Klempa were, head coach, assistant coach. And I just, they had announced the relaunch of the PWBA, I want to say in January or February, maybe even later than that. It could have been closer to April. And I had a plan for after college. I wanted to come back home and go to UAlbany and go to law school. And become a lawyer and criminal law, because my degree is in criminal law and sociology. And I had a plan. Wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to go to law school, go to UAlbany. So I obviously had to reassess those plans after they came out with the relaunch of the PWBA, because at that point I had such a successful senior year at Nebraska that I was kind of at an all-time high. And obviously I wanted to see if I could translate that to the professional level at that point. So I walked across the stage at Nebraska, and the same weekend I drove to Green Bay, Wisconsin for the USBC Queens. So it was pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And also pretty quick was the success that you realized out on tour. I mean, you fast forward 3 years, you've got 2 titles, including the 2018 US Open. I mean,
Right.
what's that like to have that kind of success on tour that quickly?
Yeah, so I say this to a lot of the interviews I do when I get asked this question is having a success early on tour was a blessing and a curse. And the reason I say that is obviously that USBC Queen stops I just spoke about, I made the show.
Yeah.
And then I also won later that year. And then I didn't do anything for 3.5 years. And a lot of that was because I got comfortable. I took my natural talent for granted and the talent and that I had gained at Nebraska, and I took it for granted. And what I mean by that is I became mediocre mostly because I stopped practicing as much. I wasn't taking care of myself as much as I was before as far as what I was eating and just not being very good to my body. And out on the PWBA Tour, these girls are good. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great bowlers out there. And as much as natural talent may give you a benefit on our tour, you still have to work hard to be better than those girls every week. And I kind of got slapped in the face with reality with that, with just going 3 years, not really making very much money, not making any shows, missing cuts, missing the USBC Queens cut, match play. It just, I had to really take a step back and realize, okay, Liz, you got to get your stuff together here. You know what I mean? You really have to get back to what you were doing. So I actually reached out to both Coach Straub and Coach Klempa, and also at that point in time, I was Team USA Bowling. So Coach Ross and Coach Mark Baker. And I really had to, reconstruct some things to get back to where I was, because basically what I had done is my swing had gotten really far away from my body and I didn't have any leverage and I was throwing the ball into the lane, and I really had to reconstruct things. So I think as much as it was a blessing to obviously bowl really good that first year, it was also a curse a little bit because I got comfortable. And if I give any advice to the younger players that come off the NCAA, that come to bowl on our tour, I tell the same thing to them, to not get comfortable, because it's very easy to be fresh out of college after bowling 6 days a week practicing to all of a sudden you're balancing another career and you're never bowling. You know what I mean? So I'm glad for it, obviously, because I had a great rookie year, but it also, I kind of got slapped with reality a little bit as well. So I think every player may go through that in their career.
Sure. Yeah. So, as we talked about, you've won on that big stage. You've hoisted the US Open trophy over your head. And I don't want to be the guy who says, well, compare that to this, but compare that to this.
Oh my gosh. Love that photo. Look at how happy we all are.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is tough to compare the two, because obviously the Women's Open is about me, right? This is about the US and bowling for your country. And at that point in time, bowling with Missy and Jordan, it was so fun because, we were the underdogs, and, it was a David and Goliath thing in that championship match. We were bowling against a stacked Colombia team with Maria Rodriguez and Clara Guerrero and Juliana Franco. I mean, we were like, we were underdogs. We really were. And there's something to be said about winning when you're an underdog, especially we were in Las Vegas. We were in front of the home crowd. It just, I have to say that shot I had to throw for us to win was the most nervous I've ever been in my entire bowling career. And I say that without a stutter, because my heart, I felt like, was literally palpitating out of my chest. I was that nervous because, just like we spoke about earlier about Richie, I'm not just bowling for me now. I'm bowling for Jordan. I'm bowling for Missy. I'm bowling for the rest of the team in the back, all the people in the back that are cheering for us. There's just something to be said about team bowling, and to be doing it for the United States, for your country, in your home country. It just was a feeling that I can't compare to any sort of individual bowling. Obviously the US Open is the pinnacle of our sport, and not just our sport, every sport really, tennis, golf. So to obviously be in the echelon for the rest of my career, for the rest of my life, is something that can never be taken away from me. And, that week is so long in the US Open. So to come out on top at the end is just like an unbelievable feeling and relief, honestly. And I'm just so glad that I can be part of that group now, like I said, for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I hate to keep going back to these, these team events and these doubles events because the show is about you. But this past year, to have the success you had at the women's championship, you take all events, you take doubles with your partner here, and I'm going to butcher her name, even though you said it, Jessica Ietza.
That was great. That was great. You nailed
it. Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You took, like I said, doubles in all events. So I reached out and asked her about bowling with you. She said that she's very lucky to have been Liz's doubles partner over the last several years. She says we just click. Granted, we're on opposite sides of the lanes, but we have great chemistry and communication. We both represent the brands of Brunswick, so I trust and value her opinion on ball selection and lane play. And she says, I hope our success continues for years to come. And I mean, to have that kind of relationship, I'd bet on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I love how you reach out. I love reading these comments after the fact. So I appreciate it. I think it's a really cool part of your show.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, absolutely. So Jess and I, not only do we bowl on the national stage together, but we bowl at the state level. We've bowled in tournaments locally as doubles partners. We bowl in the same Monday night team and have for years now in league. So Jessica and I have a lot of time together as partners and have known each other for a long time. And, Jess was one of the first women that I became friends with when I went to adult league. And it was very intimidating going into league as an adult. And what I mean by that is I just come out of college, I was just kind of this pariah, so to speak, like coming back home after having so much success in Nebraska. Like, I think people thought I'd be really like snobby and stuck up, and that's just not me. But Jess was the first one to really take me under her wing and like show me the ropes, because Jessica's a very accomplished bowler in her own manner. And I'm grateful for that, because I was scared to death to bowl in adult league at that point in time. But it's been a great ride with Jessica. We've had a lot of accomplishments together, both, at the national level and the state level. And, I'm looking forward to bowling more events with her for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic that you guys have had the run that you have. That says a lot about both of you. Brian wants to know, who is the one PWBA person that you bowl against that you say, oh, wow, I get to bowl against blank?
Kelly
Is there
Kuhlkin.
one? Yeah.
Easily. Liz Johnson, maybe as well. But Kelly's the first person that comes to my mind. Everyone else, I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of friends on the PWBA Tour too. So like, I don't look at them that way, but Kelly and Liz are also my friends as well. So it's not that, but Kelly's my idol. She has been since I was very young. So it's still almost unreal to me, like surreal, that I get to bowl with her on the same tour, even be on the same team. We were on Team USA together. I even roomed with her a couple stops. Like, this is somebody that I legitimately had her jersey framed on my wall when I'm like 15 years old. And then we fast forward, 10 years, and I'm literally sharing a hotel with her in California bowling on tour. Like, excuse me, when does that happen? That's like, a kid that plays baseball, rooming with Aaron Judge, one of these days, it's just still crazy.
Or Kristen Yelich. I mean, potato.
We can use the Milwaukee reference still. But I would say Kelly, just because I'm just in awe of her still. I really am. Even, becoming a major champion and being a PWBA titleist. her win at the Tournament of Champions against Chris Barnes. I'm sorry. I could watch that 100 times and cry every time because it's just it was just an amazing time in sports. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah. And underappreciated on the broad stage for sure. I mean,
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah. But when we talk about roommates, we can't really do that without talking about Mallory Clark, who's been on the show before. So of course I reached out, to her, and she said rooming with Liz has been great. Lots of laughs, and even more Panda Express. That's our go-to meal. We have one of those here, so I was able to snap that photo.
That's great.
Not a sponsor, but Mr. Express, if you email me at bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com, we can talk about that.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Yeah. Why Panda Express?
Oh my God. Well, for one, we don't have Panda Express in upstate New York. So
okay. There you go.
Whenever I go out anywhere, I just want Panda Express. And Mallory shares the same love for Panda Express because I think she may have one in Maine, that's in a strip mall or something that's not easily accessible. So we just bond over it. You bowl good, you bowl bad, you go and get fried rice. You just do it. This is what we do. We get the cream cheese rangoons. We just we love Panda Express, and we joked that we were going to do a podcast with Panda Express being talking with the panda or something. I don't know, but we joked about it because we love Panda Express so much. But there's never a bad time for Panda Express. There's never a bad occasion for a cream cheese rangoon. So I just think it's hilarious that she threw that in there. But it is true. We do love Panda Express.
Yeah. And of course, she says it's always fun when we both bowl well. But we have such a great friendship that her wins feel like my wins too. She says, being newer on tour, she tries to learn all she can from you, and she loves seeing you with the fans. She said that you're so loved and respected by not only the fans, but the other bowlers as well, and that she got very lucky to cross paths with you and develop the friendship that you have. I mean, what's that like from your perspective? Not only being recognized as a fan favorite, but also someone who has now not only climbed the ranks of the tour, won on tour, but is now a big inspiration for Mallory and some of the younger players.
Yeah, so it means a lot to me. Obviously, I think any bowler in the PWBA says that they want to become a titleist and they want to try to gain as many titles as they can in their prime on our tour. But on a bigger scale, in the bigger picture for me, I want to be respected by my peers, right? And I want to be somebody that the younger players, the newer players can look up to. I was just raised that way. I have a really great parents, really good family. And I was just raised to be that way, respect others, treat others the way you want to be treated. I know it's cliche, but it goes back to the beginning of time. These players, these younger players, these newer players that come on our tour are really important to our tour, to grow our tour. And there's something to be said when a player comes out and they're scared to death to bowl with Liz Kuhlkin, to bowl with Kelly Kulik, to bowl with Liz Johnson. That's when you want to show them that you're the same as they are. You put your pants on the same way they did this morning. And I think there's something to be said about just treating that person the way you would like to be treated. And I think it goes back to just decent human etiquette. I don't feel like it's hard to be nice to people and treat people where they feel comfortable. So it's just me, and I'm grateful for all the people I've met on tour. So it's something I look forward to every year, seeing the new players on tour. So
yeah, I think a great example of your friendship came in that mic'd up video that Ben Glasscock produced.
I love it.
Having had interactions with both of you, to see you in kind of that raw, environment, competitive environment, is really cool for those of us, who aren't, right there listening. What was that like for you to see?
Yeah, so when Ben asked me to do that mic'd up video, it was like immediately yes. I just think it's such a great idea. I think we need more of it. I, for one, think that Ben is incredibly talented and think it's amazing that he's with the PWBA staff now, because we need more of him. We really do. I just think he really cares about giving the exposure the PWBA Tour deserves. And I think he has a different perspective on how to do it. So very grateful for him to be out there. But I loved that video. He had said, I know some people are worried about, messing up their routine or the mic being in their, their pants or their skirt. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, I think this is great. But I said, can I be real? Like, do I need to be careful? Because your girl drops some swear bombs sometimes. So like, are we good with that?
Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm one of the more animated tour players. So I think it was awesome. Mallory and I watched it together when he came out with the unofficial version. And in fact, we got Panda Express and tried to watch it together, and we literally choked and had to stop eating because it was so funny. Yeah, because it was so funny. Just the little jokes we had. At one point I turned to her and I'm like, can I have some of your turkey bacon tomorrow morning? Like, that's just Mal and I. Like, we're besties. It's just. But there was also some clips of us talking about the lane conditions and how we were playing the lane. So it kind of shows the both sides of our friendship, to where we can be silly and then we can also work together to bowl well. So I just think it was such good happenstance that we were crossing together that week. Very glad that we were able to kind of have a snapshot of our friendship that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, cool for us to see, kind of get an inside look at that dynamic, because we see it from a distance. We just see that you talk to each other and that's pretty much it. But to hear the words is really cool.
Absolutely.
We're in this kind of weird lull, and the men are too, where you don't have national tour stops. You don't have a whole lot between, the US Women's Open and then the Lucy doubles. What do you do to stay sharp? How do you stay focused and be ready so that when you and Richie shoe up, you're not, taking time to get back adjusted to what is a big event?
Yeah. So full transparency, I think there's a lot to be said about time off, because the months of May and June for the PWBA are crazy. It's a lot of traveling. You're bowling a lot. I had bowled the women's championships immediately after the US Open. So you put in all the games for the US Open, and then I went and I flew to Reno and bowled the women's championship. So I needed some time off. Like, I didn't want to bowl for a couple weeks. So I'm a huge golfer. I love to golf. It's truly my hobby, So I've been spending a lot of time golfing. And I do have a full-time career at home as well. I actually work in human resources for Market 32 Price Chopper, which is a grocery store chain around here, same as Kroger, Safeway, whatever else. So I do have a 9-to-5 job at home that I am very grateful to Market 32. They let me bowl, during the summertime, but obviously I miss a lot of work and I do a lot of catching up when I get home. So I do work, but as we get closer here, I'm drilling up a lot of new rocks. The brands at Brunswick have put out a lot of new stuff over the summer, so I have to drill up some stuff. And I will do that probably next week and start bowling with some of the new stuff and putting my arsenal together of what I'm going to bring to the Lucy since they announced the pattern. So, I think there's definitely something to be said about time off. It's needed. You can get burnt out. So I've always took my time in July very seriously when I come home, and it usually includes a lot of time on the links. So cool. I have taken some of that time, and now I'll, put my nose back to the grindstone and drill some bowling balls and get ready for the Lucy, because I respect Richie way too much to not be sharp for that. So I'll be ready.
And just in case your Market 32 folks are watching, knowing my sponsor's personality, he'd want me to do this. So just in case they happen to, be tuning in on live, live or replay.
Stock that on our shelves.
Stock it on. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Chip magnet. Stock it on the
yeah.
shelves.
For sure. Liz said she had a hole-in-one on Zavala's blog. I need details, yardage, club, etc.
Okay, well, 1 second. I'm gonna do you one better. So this is my hole-in-one ball that I have.
Whoa. Yeah.
So it was a par 3, hole 5 at Stadium Golf Course in Schenectady, New York. It was done with a pitching wedge, and I believe it was 109 yards out. At that point in time, I was still hitting from women's tees. I've since then I do hit from the back tees now since I've gotten a little bit better. But pitching wedge, I want to say 109 yards.
Wow, that's incredible. What do you value more, an 890 series or a hole-in-one?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, golf is so hard, Andrew. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Golf is the hardest sport I've ever played in my life, and it's not close. It's hard to put. Honestly, I mean, 890 striking that much was super difficult. But a hole-in-one, I know people that have golfed their whole lives that are good players that don't have hole-in-ones. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I bet. Mallory didn't hold back, and I don't want to, censor her, so I gotta put this up there.
Oh, for God's sakes.
You do root for, because I asked her. She doesn't really root for the Yankees, right? Yeah, she does. But you make it work somehow with her being a Red Sox fan. I would imagine it's all in good fun. You kind of rib each other because, there's a big rivalry, but you're both baseball fans.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, but Mallory isn't the Red Sox fan that I don't like. You know how it is being a baseball fan. There's some rivalry team fans that are just jerks, and Mallory couldn't be a jerk even if she tried her absolute hardest. So, it's all good fun. She does have a Red Sox tattoo, and I don't have a Yankees tattoo, so that I guess she has more of a desire with her team than I do, but. Yeah, we make it work. It's all in good fun.
Yeah, and baseball is great. I love it too. One of my early guests and fellow content creator was a huge baseball guy, made a baseball fantasy league. Not really fantasy baseball, but just kind of an imaginary thing. And whenever I think about baseball, I always think about him. So, that's cool that you guys are both fans of that. Love it. And because it's America's pastime, and
it is totally
we're
agree.
America.
I'm a huge sports fan, so I'm all for it.
Yeah. Ooh, see here. How does Liz like the Yankees this year against the cheating Astros?
Yeah, it's tough. That was a tough year for Yankees fans to swallow because they cost us the playoffs, quite frankly. Yeah. So, the Yankees are in a pretty big lull right now, to be honest. They've been really sucking it up the past 2 months, so they got to turn things around because they started off like a house fire, but we could miss the playoffs if we don't get it together, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, you were saying that you're heading over to check out the game. It's 5-3 Rays in the top of the 8th, so I want to kind of keep this moving. Let's go off the sheet so you can get to that game, right?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Let's go off the sheet. Challenge a bowler to appear on a future episode.
I would like to challenge Will Madison.
I would say Diana Zavulova.
The Better Russo, Lauren Russo.
We're looking for anyone who has a passion for the sport and a unique story to tell.
Well, there are the parameters, Liz Kuhlkin. Who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
So, Brianna Cote took my first person. I was going to say Miss Lauren Russo, but I will now say Jordan Richard.
Okay. All right.
Jordan Richard, my very good friend. So I challenge her.
Yeah. She had a tremendous year this last year, and I'm sure there are high expectations this year. And she's been doing well, but what is it about Jordan that, maybe we need to know that we might not see from a distance?
Jordan is one of the most naturally talented players on our tour. Like, she just has an incredible ball roll. Like I feel like without even trying, she's just incredibly talented. But Jordan also has this persona. I feel like a lot of people, she's pretty quiet. She's pretty driven. But she's super competitive. And I feel like there's something to be said about competitiveness on our tour. Everybody wants to win, obviously, but I really feel like you need that certain level of wanting to win on our tour to be good. I just feel like you need that it factor. And Jordan has that 100%. And I think it's one of the real reasons why you've seen so much success from her the last couple of years. She has that it factor on winning. She's just a winner. And I feel like more and more people are seeing that as the years have gone by with how incredibly successful she's been. Besides the fact she's unbelievably talented, she's just got that it factor with her.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, if you happen to see this either live or on replay and want to take Liz up on her challenge, email me at bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com or message me on Facebook. We'll make it happen. We are coming back Monday, July 15th at 7 p.m. Our next show is with Lenny Borish Jr., the PBA and USBC Hall of Famer. He's had some highs, and I'll tell you, he is involved in quite a health battle right now, a challenge with his health that really has come on since we had him on last, so I'm bringing him back. And he's been competing at such a high level on the 50 since then. So Lenny will be back Monday, July 15th, 7 p.m. Central. Liz, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I obviously know that Mallory was on here, and I got to watch her show, and I love the way you do your shows, especially, like I said, with the comments, how you reach out to people and kind of have that perspective with who you interview. I think it's great. So I really appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to seeing future episodes. Thank you. Appreciate it. And, until next week, we'll go from there. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Fef. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards. Email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.